Good evening, all. Ira Epstein of Linn and Associates with your SPDR ETF wrap-up, and this wrap-up is for Monday, the 25th of October, 2021. All right. So we're getting earnings. Well, first off, you saw Tesla. Whoa, Hertz buying, 100,000 of their Model Ys, a $4 billion order. You know, that means Hertz is going to be investing. Think of all the other companies impacted by this. They're going to do this within a year now. They have to put charging stations now for all this at their different Hertz centers. That's going to be important, whether they'll allow other cars to come in and charge there. That could be interesting, could be another profit center for them to do that. I would guess if I'm a rental fleet, I'm not going to have the slow chargers. I'm putting in the fast chargers to get these cars charged and out of my bay so I can get the next one going. It's also going to impact used car prices down the road. Now that you're starting to replace a big part of a fleet with these electric cars, those gasoline cars won't be wanted. It's also going to help Hertz with maintenance costs. There just aren't as many parts. And which ones will they buy? They're not going to buy the sleek cars. They're going to buy that Model Y with the wings that go up and down. You know, that's what they're going to buy, and that's a smart move. So you look at that. We have Microsoft earnings coming out. We heard from Facebook. We're going to hear from so many of these companies that are coming out right now. Buckle in. Then, before Friday, we have to be ready to see what the Democrats can put together to give the president as he leaves on his Glasgow, Scotland mission. It has dramatically changed. He is not going there the same President Biden he was 2 months ago, offering all these what he thinks are phenomenal ideas on cleansing. And speaking about cleaning the air, did you see what they're doing today with the methane tax? That's going to be thrown out. So Joe Manchin, that part is gone. He got that thrown out. Now, talk to me about how long it takes to get everything clean. You are aware that OPEC is talking 2060. Other countries will join that. None of this is happening right away, yet Mother Nature's not waiting and the weather's going up. Did you pay attention to the storms taking place? Those huge fires that hit California, Mother Nature came in and did what the firefighters did a phenomenal job of doing, the best containment human beings can do, but Mother Nature snuffed it out. There's no replacement for Mother Nature coming in with a storm. You can fly all the planes you want over lakes. You're not going to make up the difference. Now, she's also going to replenish, and that's Mother Nature, a lot of the snowfall, a lot of what the mountains need so that we can get water flowing back into the different lakes, the streams, rivers, all important. At the same time, she'll do some destruction. San Francisco lost 2 refineries, and gasoline prices immediately jumped up from that. New York, you're going to get hit with a series of storms in the morning. So as we look at all this, gold acting very good, but we're getting to some fairly high numbers, and you got to pay attention as to where you're at in them. So let's take a look at our first charts and try to move from there if I can get this going for us. And I'm not sure it's going to let me. All right, I'll do one thing, see if this allows it. I've had this happen before, and if it does, great. Yeah, that's it. Sometimes the battery just has to be moved. Okay, Tesla, a gap, takes off. I didn't know that this was going to get this big deal, but I moved to Tesla a week ago, if you'll notice, because I said, this chart just looks interesting. And boom, away you've gone. You jumped wildly. You're in an uptrend. The market broke out when you got through on Friday, not today. 877.95. It kept a pattern of higher highs, higher lows. The market runs today. The market's over the upper Bollinger Band. When you get this type of news, it'll take several days for it probably to get under that band. Why would it just immediately give up all these gains? Those sales aren't going away. If they were, then I'd worry about it. The market jumped and maybe they won't happen. Nah, Hertz is committed to it. Bingo. Fully embedded reading. So when did this all happen? Gee, let me think about that. Fully embedded bullish reading, higher lows, higher highs. You had a base action and you've broken out and you've got your first $1 trillion company. You want to know what I was pleased about? This morning I'm recording at 9 o'clock or 9:10, whatever time I started recording. And I said, don't be surprised if this market gets up over $1,000 today. I mean, it's young. People haven't really grasped the importance of this. They did by the end of the day. In Apple, you have an embedded reading. I don't want to be bearish when you have embedded readings. Lose the embedded reading, and what will I do? Then I'll go like this. You're probably going to pull back to the 18 and the 100-day average. But the pattern is higher lows, higher highs. I also don't want to buy the upper Bollinger Band. You'll never catch me knowingly buying above a Bollinger Band or selling below it. Never. It would have to be an accident or lunacy on my part. Could be lunacy. On ARK, okay, so now ARK is saying, okay, it's come back to life. I thought this was going to be a very important resistance zone. We've talked about that. Market falls back, comes back to it, still is. I need to see how it wants to work itself. Is it embedding? So let's come here the first time. Both numbers on this day, Thursday, were over 80. On Friday, both over 80, and certainly today, it's embedded, which tells me on the pullbacks, the pros are going to buy until that red line closes under 79, looking for the upper Bollinger Band and the 200-day average. Now, there's a technique to buy it. I teach it in my enhanced Bollinger Band course, which is right at the end of this. I talk about it there. If you haven't learned Bollinger Bands, you have to. They're so darn important. I always get asked if there's one of the courses that I've created over the years that I think is my best one for the more advanced trader. It's got to be my Bollinger Band course. In XLI, uptrend, embedded reading, bullish. It's the only thing I am. For those of you that get my morning subscriber video, how many different markets did I say today on these pullbacks were a buy? You know what I'm talking about. The tape's there. How many times do you get with an embedded reading? And I'll say that. It's going to be most of the time according to what I teach in the course. It's that simple. Doesn't mean they work. That's not what I just said. I was full of buy conditions today is what I was saying. Maybe you'll embed. You're overbought in the semiconductor. I certainly said last week here that you hit the upper Bollinger Band. I think the pros came out of the market. I will stand by what I said. You were overbought in an uptrend, and the market is still not developed the embedded reading. I'll patiently wait to see what it does. Cannabis, CNBS, I love that. Lower low, higher high, just playing around. So the rally, when you ended the downtrend to the 18-day average, had zero legs. This market's waiting for more clarity on, I guess, regulations and so on. Just don't really have it yet. It would be great to have a federal law and how this all works across all countries. I'm going to Mexico. Somebody asked me yesterday. So you're going to Mexico. What if you brought back pot? I'm not crazy. I would not be bringing back pot or taking pot or smoking pot down there. No. But it was an interesting question. So I said, well, let's assume you're flying to Texas. What's their law? What's California's law? I think California, if you came in customs, as you got back into the U.S., they found you with pot. If it's for personal use, is at that amount. But if you go back to a state that doesn't have that, what have you done? It brings up interesting questions. You can't get away from it, and that's the only point. I can't wait. By the way, I am leaving on Thursday, gone 7 to 10 days, haven't made up my mind, depends how I like it and what I'm doing. All of my subscribers will get my videos. When I'm there, all I do is I change my clothing, I've got my computers, my headgear, and I'm putting out all my updates. The day of travel's my hard day, obviously, because it is a long flight from Chicago. By the time you get there, check in, it's a 5-6 hour ordeal when it's all said and done. When I look next at, let me get here for us, EEM, emerging markets. I thought the market would have trouble here when it hit its first Bollinger Band. Then it embedded. So that tells me that until the red line's lost, I think the pros are using these breaks to buy. I do respect the fact that the 100-day average is stopping these rallies. Even if you pop 53.03 is about as good as I can see it. And to be buying it at 52.31 or thereabouts, not enough juice in it to get all excited. In GLD, as bullish as I am, and I told you I'm in the bull camp, I would never tell my client to buy over and upper Bollinger Band. Could I be wrong? Of course. Would I do it? No. Why? 50 years of being a broker, certainly becoming what I think is an expert on Bollinger Bands for at least 20 some odd years. No, I don't think I would ever tell anybody to do that. And overbought, as you can see in the slow stochastic. Gold miners, well, it is embedded. These are stronger than the gold. So it's probably this way. I think the mining stocks are saying, well, even if gold corrects, is the overall trend up? If it is, our earnings are going to go. Do we really care if gold's up today or down tomorrow? That's the thinking that goes on in the miners. Remember that. And that's why I think it's embedded, not so in the gold itself. In copper, the correction is underway. So follow me. Did we lose the embedded reading? On the close of Friday, you lost that reading. You did not gain it back today. The odds still favor that price and the 18-day average are going to try to make a run at each other. In order to prove it wrong, you'd have to re-embed. Otherwise, I think you got to work these numbers off, and that's what I think will happen. I think price is going to pull back to that number for whatever opportunities it presents. TLT, I was interested today. Dennis Gartman came out on CNBC. They're enamored with him. And I used to have Dennis on my TV shows, Stocks, Options, and Futures, many years ago. So I certainly know the gentleman, think he's a very articulate person, has a good handle. I never understood all his trading. I'm going to be long gold, but short of. His grammar was always the most interesting. So he's changing currencies. He would be playing it in, doing whatever. Not the easiest thing to follow. And he is a contrarian. He came out today and he said that because the crowd is so heavy that interest rates have to just keep marching here, he thinks you might get surprised and get back to the 135, something like that level. It's funny because I had written and told people, I think it was between Friday and Sunday, that it wouldn't surprise me if you go back to 1.5 because the market was getting ahead of itself. So we're on the same path. I am not a long-term bull on the bonds, okay? You'd have to give me a reason where interest rates are not going to keep marching higher. I'm open to listening, but I don't see it yet from a longer-term perspective. Last, in the euro, if you looked at the futures, they peaked out on Friday against the upper Bollinger Band, and you fell back today. Now you're in a downtrend. The bias is up, and you're over the 18-day average of closes. Interesting, but I don't see an awful lot to do one way or the other. So as you put this all together, you get yourself a game plan, you try to figure it out, and the one thing I want you to do is learn these Bollinger Bands. You hear me talk about them. Take a look at this. Welcome. I'm Ira Epstein, and I'm here to talk about my enhanced Bollinger Band course. Now, many of you have taken my regular charting course, and if not, you might think you know something about Bollinger Bands. As you know, Bollinger Bands are an algorithm designed to keep the market trading within it 95% of the time, and on a chart, it will offer on the top part resistance, on the bottom support, and the idea is the market will travel within them. We know that sometimes it latches onto that band, goes up or goes down. Well, how do you play with that? Can you pyramid the positions off that type of thinking? Well, I've applied all three of these into 13 different videos that teach you my concept of it. And from that concept, you're able to work with weekly charts and or daily charts. The 13 videos, each about 7 minutes long. The idea here is not to put you in school forever, but to teach. Now, If you haven't tried my complete futures research, I throw that in as well. Whether you've tried this or not, I think it's worth taking a look at. I think you're going to learn something from there. That research, by the way, covers twice daily market updates for you and access to what I call window envelope numbers, which I think are very important when looking at these Bollinger Bands. The next part is a trial to our charting software so you can make your charts look the same way that mine do. It's that simple. Where do you go with it and how do you get all this? It's simple. You go to our website, www.iraepstein.com. If you go to the word education, everything you need is answered there. You can also call my staff. They'll be happy to help you get set up. I'm Ira Epstein on the road to your education.